Hello and welcome back, and that is right, you know what this is. We do this at Prime Day and Black Friday. This is when we go through the best offers that are available currently on Amazon during the Prime Day event, which I would personally buy for my storage setup. We do this to fundraise what we do here on the platform. We don't monetize this video, although there are links to everything I'm going to talk about below, and if you use those links, a small commission comes here at NAS Compares, allowing us to keep doing what we do. But before we get into the deals, and by the way, the chapter bar at the bottom of the screen is denoted for each of the countries that we're going to cover, because we cover a lot of countries in this video. A few little tips and guidance along the way. So number one, here at the top, there is a whole deal page that we're working on all the time, every hour, over on NAS Compares, and this adds the best deals that I've found so far. Most of the deals that I'm going to talk about in the video will be put into this article, however not all of them, because sometimes a deal is available in different regions, and then I'll put down either the US one for tax reasons that we'll talk about later on, or I'll put in one of the European ones, again traditionally Germany, to cover most of Europe there. Next thing, there is the community deals page. Again, I've not updated this page in a few minutes, but this is one where Eddie's automatic crawling mechanism manages to find deals online. I add deals on there, and other users add deals on there. You can add your own, and then it goes up and down. You can say which ones you like. You know the score. Next up, if you are looking at an offer, don't forget to try to use camel if you're slightly on edge. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at this page here. If we go for an offer, let's look at this Barracuda deal here, and we just take the link there at the top. We copy it into this search, and it will give us real-time information about the pricing of that over time to ascertain whether it is actually a decent enough promo at $109. Keep in mind, by doing that, by the way, it will kill our link. So if you do want to support what we do, please go back and click the link below in the description to that product once again. Next up, we've done a few videos recently on the subject of the best NAS deals for $499, and we've got another one coming up at $249 in the next 12 hours or so. And we've also done partner articles for both of them that detail the best NAS you can get for that money right now. These aren't just limited to Amazon, but they are on there. Next up, if you're looking at an Terramaster product, this is the full list of all of their stuff. Luckily, Eddie was able to crawl this. This is every single one of their NASs in every single region and the offer price that they are on. So do check that out. Some of these are clickable, I believe. And again, if they're not, we'll be adding that shortly. And finally, if you are looking at a UGREEN NAS, although there are some good deals on Amazon, you'll see in the course of this video, they have got their own event. I talked about this in a video yesterday, where they're doing 20% off on a lot of their devices. Again, they're linked below. Commission, support the channel, etc. But only use that link if you want to. But bottom line, if you're going to look at a UGREEN NAS, those are some of the ones to go for. And the last thing, slightly jokey, Jesus Christ, this thing is on offer everywhere. I don't know whether it's because it overheats. I don't know whether it's because they're developing the remake of this with a better thermal panel. Look out for my Cyber Hydra video coming soon, which is the modified version of this. But right now, you're going to find this on offer everywhere. This is Amazon Canada, for example, generally somewhere that has terrible offers, and it's knocking around at $262 at 42% off. So keep that in mind. But again, this device does get very warm, so don't use it for any intense utilization. But for now, let's crack on with Prime Day deals in the US. It won't come as a big surprise. Deals on the US pages here. Not only have they got the most offers, generally you will find that a lot of these items are available on offer in your own region if you're not in the US, but it probably won't be as good a deal. Keep in mind, and we'll come back to this again, the subject of tax, because obviously the prices listed here do not include tax like they do in, most of Europe. Whether you are UK or EU, doesn't matter, because our prices show tax. The US doesn't. Do keep that in mind when looking at the pricing. But here we have that same GMKTec at just $169. That's not on Ali. It's not on any of the Moody websites. It is on $169 on Amazon there. Lovely little pricing, and that goes for if you want to include a storage drive as well. They have a few different tiered options for you there if you want to include a storage drive. On top of that, the Asus Door FlashDoor 12, the earlier generation, so not the latest Ryzen one. This is one that's got 10 GB and 12 M.2 NVMe slots, 4 gig of memory and a Celeron processor at $679. It's the cheapest I've ever seen this device. Remember, that includes ADM, and you can run TrueNAS or Unraid on this. On top of that, we've got QNAP, the TS233, a quad-core ARM processor NAS with 2 gig of DDR4 memory. This thing is basic as F, but at $159 for a 2-bay, As a lovely little addition to your 321 backup to ensure a network backup or a remote backup, this is pretty bloody cheap. It's not especially powerful, but you're going to be able to get quite a lot done. The QNAP TS233 is designed to be budget. It is budget, and at that price, it's never been more budget. And if you want to scale up, there is a 4-bay version of that. Again, a little bit more memory, same CPU, 2.5 gig at 309. So the TS433, larger amount of capacity of storage and memory, just around about $100 more. Next up, CWWK, Chang Wang, and one of their little router boxes here. This one has got 2 times 2.5 GBE, 2 times 10 GBE. It's designed primarily as a router, but I am in the process of modding this into a NAS with an M.2 adapter, utilizing one of the M key slot inside. Now, $179 for this. Again, that doesn't include memory, doesn't include your SSD. It's actually quite a bargain. You can get it inclusive, but as you can see, the majority of them are not on offer unless you go for the 8 gig option there. But keep in mind, some of these will switch to the non-10 GBE version, so keep that in mind. Next up, hard drives. We've got a few different hard drive options. There isn't really, at least at the time of recording, a great hard drive offer. Now, this event thing is going to be like 2 days long, and they'll probably drop offers later. If there are any, I'll drop them in the description below, or again, you can perhaps channels like WonderTech and Space Rex that we've worked with on the channel before. They have a tendency to put out deal videos. Don't be surprised if they do a video that they're able to find some of those better hard drive deals. So I recommend, if they put a video out, check that out if this is in the future, because their video will probably have some better hard drive deals, maybe. But if you're in a rush and you're not worried about saving another $20, then at least this one's here for you. 22 TB from WD, the red drive there. Again, I wouldn't say, I'd say it's more like 8 to 10% off, but it is a genuine discount. Same goes for the 26 TB drive. It's a lot of money, but this is a very new drive there for a 26 TB Pro 7200 RPM drive. The WD red 26 TB is a good little shout. When it comes to Seagate, it's really just these 3 drives. The 16 at 269, the 20 TB at 329, and finally the 24 TB at 419. Again, this has been cheaper before, but it just hasn't been cheaper right now at the time of recording. Check those out if you are looking for hard drives. Terramaster, they're on offer in most regions, so I'm just going to cherry pick a few of them. This is their 6-bay N95 quad-core Intel CPU NAS system with 8 gig of DDR5. It's got 2 M.2 slots inside, along with 6 SATA bays there, and at $479, this thing's cheaper than most branded 4 bays, and this thing is quite a storage unit there. And alongside TOS 6, this also arrives with support, again, without voiding your warranty, of Unraid, TrueNAS, Zimmer OS, the works. You can stick it on here. Open Media Vault 2. Same goes for the 4-bay. This is that Intel i5-10 Core version with Gen 4 x 4 M.2 NVMe slots and dual 10 GBE. Yes, it's a 4-bay, but it's technically a 6-bay with the M.2s, and the F4424 Max at 674 is a bloody bargain for an all-encompassing powerful system. This thing originally rocked at $799,899. That's quite a heck of a drop. And then Terramaster's SSD system, although there is the Plus series, which again has a more powerful CPU, if you don't care too much about 8 cores and are happy with 4, so 4 core, 4 thread, the F8 SSD NAS has got 8 M.2 NVMe's with the heatsinks included, and has 10 GBE on the rear with 8 gig of memory running on the N95 processor. And that is again at $449. This is cheaper than most bog standard hard drive 4 bays with a similar CPU. So $449 for an 8 times M.2, yum yum. And again, Unraid, TrueNAS, Open Media Vault, etc. Storage drives, external drives, again for your backup solution. We've got a 5 TB external. That is generally the going rate, if I'm honest. The only reason I've cherry picked this around $100 USB 5 TB bus powered drive is simply because it includes the rescue service. You can get 5 TB for about under 220 nicker, but it's the fact that this one includes the rescue service as well. That's why I singled that one out. Now, UPSs, something people have asked about in the past when included in these. So I wanted to pick out some UPSs here for different storage and configuration profiles in your network environment. This one is a 1500 VA, the UPS UPC BX 1500M for 143 is pretty reasonable. It's a bulky unit. The picture doesn't really do justice to the scale. I think this does a better job. But again, at 143, this thing's going to cover a lot of your hardware in your local office environment, not just a NAS. So I wanted to really highlight this one. And the same for the same goes if you're running a rack mount setup there. This is a fantastic rack mount one here. Again, similar power there, 1000 watts to the previous one, but it's got 8 outlets for the rest of your rack mount home lab setup there, a 2U deployment. And at 299, rack mount UPSs at 299 at this power level. That is a really good price for a rack mount UPS. If it was desktop, maybe not so much, but this has got the bells and whistles. And again, there are other variations of it, but this was the cherry pick of the 3 for me. And if you aren't in love with brand, and when it comes to UPSs, perhaps you should be, we've got this one here. This one is effectively Amazon label. And at 167, this is an 800 watt. This is for a smaller scale setup. You can run probably 3 to 4 desktop machines and a mid to low tier NAS from this for power failover. And at 167 at 30% off, again, it's a decent little runner. And just before we move on, it's not a Prime Day deal, but I wanted to include it. The Seagate Expansion 28TB, I missed this out earlier on, but again, this is an external USB drive with close to 30 terabytes of storage to play with there. Again, it's one drive, make sure you got a backup, you've got no failover here, but again, at 300 odd, when that drive we mentioned earlier on when we were going through the drives earlier, if we look at the pricey drives, 26TB was 484 for a USB backup at this price point. Again, it is a backup. It doesn't have failover, but it's a lovely little option for a huge amount of storage capacity as an option for your backups. All right, me old mucker, it appears we're back in the UK here. And again, as another reminder, remember, unlike the US ones that we've looked at, the UK and the European deals are going to have VAT or tax, sales tax included. Now, I include this first deal here. This is the A-Store Lockstore 4. It's not a phenomenal deal. It just isn't. It just happens to be the cheapest I've seen this particular NAS on Amazon. And one of the big, hits this device took at launch was using that Lockstore series name, and unfortunately a lot of users thought it was very overpriced, I should say. It is a powerful device. It's got ECC, it's got a hell of a CPU, it's got dual 10GBE, dual USB 4 Gen 4 M.2s inside, alongside 4 hard drive bays, but it's always going to be pricey. So if you had your eye on this for a long time but were put off by the earlier price, I include it here just to let you know that there is a little discount floating around. Now, if you're moving away from hard drives onto SSDs, you can get hold of now 4TB SATA SSDs for sub 185. Given in mind that M.2 Gen 4 SSDs are now sitting around the 250 mark, and a 4TB hard drive is about 100. So yes, this is costing effectively double to a hard drive, but for the lower power consumption, low noise, fast performance, again, we do have to talk about durability, perhaps depending on your workload, this is a nice little price to move your NAS system over to SSD rather than spinning disk. Now, next up, UGREEN. We talked about them earlier on doing their own promo, but a number of their devices are still on sale on Amazon during this event. So if you already have a Prime account and you like their refund policy, maybe this is for you. Now, this is the DXP 4800 Plus. This is that Intel 5 core version. This arrives with a 10 GBE port, 2.5 GBE, and again is that sub 500 point there. This is why this NAS made it into some of my videos about under 500. Now, when I talked about it, I didn't include the Plus version because you couldn't get this for sub 500 anywhere, and now we're starting to see it during these promo events. So if you were looking at a UGREEN NAS and you wanted M.2, you wanted hard drive, you wanted 10 GBE, you wanted that flexibility of a third-party OS if you wanted, there you go. This is probably the best option out there for you guys. Now, we talked about this. This is the LinkStation N1 before. It's a 6-bay, 6 SSD system. It's got 4 M.2 NVMe bays and 2 SATA SSD bays based there on the front. So 6 storage, a 2-tier storage system there. Unfortunately, this isn't the N2. It doesn't have 10 GBE. This is the 2.5 gig version, but at 271 Nika. This is a quad-core Intel-powered 16 gig memory system with 6 SSD bays across 2 tiers, 2 times 2.5 GBE and an unraid license, all included at 271. That's incredible when you work out the value of what you're getting there. Yes, there's better, like the N2, but this shouldn't be sneezed at. Next up, storage drives in the UK. I mentioned earlier on about the cost of 4 TB. If you do still want to stick to hard drives, £85 right now will get you the 4 TB. It's not a huge discount, but at this price point at 4 TB, the discounts tend to be 10 to 20 Nika for the most part. So this is still not a terrible price point there for a 4 TB drive. It's one of the best I could find. Lastly, Terramaster, we've got the previous generation quad-core 2-bay. So again, that's got 2 M.2. It's got 2 hard drive bays. It's got 2.5 gig, a quad-core Celeron processor, and it's £210, which is dirt cheap. And it runs the latest version of TOS, and it supports third-party operating systems. There's a lot to love there at that price point. And if that doesn't interest you, then you've got the Pro series. The F4424 Pro 471, again, arriving with an 8-core i3 processor, arriving with 16 gig of memory that can be scaled up to 32 gig. There, it's got 2.5 GBE times 2 on the back, which is a bit of a bummer, but it does still have M.2 and SATA bays there at the front, including the software, support third-party OS 471, yum. Finally, SSDs, if you're looking at max M.2 NVMe, be it as a scratch disk, as an editing disk, or for your PlayStation 5. It's one of the best deals I could find. This is a 4TB Lexar NM790, a phenomenal SSD that in our reviews did exceedingly well in terms of sustained performance in Gen 4. And at 203, you're looking at basically around 50 quid per terabyte there for a very high performance drive. If you don't believe me, look online for the reviews on this drive. It is a breath of fresh air. Lexar they weren't ready for how good and how popular this drive was going to be, and you'll see that reflected in the reviews. But let's move to the next region. Guten Tag, it's over to Germany. In fact, I'm going to be in Germany a couple of times in the second half of this year, in Berlin and Munich. So if I see any of you there, I'll have a Stein, or I'll get you one too. Moving on. Again, mostly similar things to what we have seen. For a start, we've seen that LinkStation N1, again, €288 here. We've already discussed it. It's a lovely system. Yes, the N2 exists. They're clearly getting rid of the older stock, but at 288, it's a bloody bargain. Now, there's a couple of non-Prime Day deals that I'm going to include coming up, but I include them because they're still quite nice offers. An example, this is not a Prime Day deal, €569 for the 8 gig TS464. Now, this is the version, I believe, where you can't upgrade the memory. Unless things have changed, I don't believe you can. Again, there's no variation of details on the spec pages that confirm that, but still, quad-core Celeron, it's got PCIe upgradability, it's got 2 times 2.5 GBE, HDMI 2.1, 4K 60 frames per second, it's got 2 M.2 NVMe's at Gen 3 times 1, the PCIe is Gen 3 times 2, it's got QTS, which can now be upgraded to the ZFS version, QUTS. It doesn't support third-party operating systems officially, but at the same time, for a QNAP NAS that's had a lot of development over the years, $569 is a lovely price at 24% off. Now, Changwang, back to those again. Here we have the N150. It's got 2 times 2.5 GBE, but it's a 4 times M.2 NVMe slot. We included the P6 in a recent comparison with the B-Link ME and the GMK G9, a video that went out a few days ago. And this thing really held its own. It's an industrial build. It's very well put together there. And overall, it's a lovely option. And at €184, it is a Billy bargain. I don't care where in the world you're from. So I just wanted to include that here. But keep in mind, it does not include the memory. It includes a CPU, but no storage OS drive, no Wi-Fi card, no memory. You can add them for spending a little bit more there at the bottom, but if you've got it knocking around, this is a lovely bargain. You can scale that up, by the way, to the N355 8-core version as well. So you've got the 4-core Twin Lake and the 8-core i3 Twin Lake there, and that's just 286 on that CWWK P6. You can scale up from that, by the way. You've got things like this, the WTR Pro. This is the U-Star 4-box, although it doesn't trade under the name U-Star in a few regions, which is weird. And again, sub 500, this is a 4x SATA, 2x M.2, 2.5 GBE ready system with a very quirky side-load design. It's not the best 4-bay, but for a custom-built DIY NAS solution, it's a lovely price. And again, we've talked about it before on the channel. Yes, the U-Star WTR Max that was released recently is a banger, but this is still not too shabby. Finally, there it is again, the GMKTec G9. Now, this one includes a 1TB SSD. It's also got that default 64GB eMMC. You can install your OS on there. We successfully did it with ZimOS, or you can run Unraid from a USB. And at €259, it's a pinch more than the ones we've discussed. But once you factor in that this includes the tax, remember, it's a great price that includes a storage SSD drive, which, by the way, arrives with Windows on it. Use it, scrap it, it's up to you. But moving on. Bonjour la France, over to France. Again, this is when things start to run low. In fact, I've actually had to merge a few regions here into one section together because, again, we've talked about a lot of the deals already when it came to Germany and the UK there, so a lot of them are very similar. So, for example, here we have a new one here. This is that 4x 2.5 GBE, 2x 10GB SFP. Again, this includes the tax, €37 in France. That's quite a decent price. They don't seem to market as much, so presumably it's dirt cheap anyway. But given that this is $40 to $50 in some places, without tax, this being $37 with tax is not too shabby indeed. Next up, Terramaster. Again, this is their 4x SATA drive, 4x M.2 NVMe USB expander box, but you can use it as a standard desktop DAS for editing if you choose. And at $250, that is a lovely price for a huge amount of storage, or for those that are doing data recovery services, those that are doing data duplication. This works very well with that. There's even a little bit of software included with it. But again, only bays 1 and 2 support a RAID functionality. The rest is JBOD. You will need to use a software OS for your RAID. Next up, the B-Link ME. I didn't find this on offer hardly anywhere, at least at the time of recording, but you can get it right now for $388, including an M.2 NVMe at 2 terabytes included with it. Again, not too shabby a price. I kept sort of searching around trying to find a good price for this, and that M.2 inside, by the way, isn't a great one from what I can see from the reviews, so do keep that in mind. But if you are in France and you are looking at a lot of these M.2 NVMe SSD NASs floating around, this is not too shabby an option there. Finally, Synology. They've not been on the list hardly at all in this video. Unsurprisingly, again, at the time of recording, none of their stuff is really on offer right now. They don't normally engage that much with Prime Day, although they do with Black Friday. And I thought they'd use this period to get rid of a lot of their old hardware. Now, maybe they still will, but at least right now it doesn't look that way. Now, the B Station here, this is the ARM-based powered one with a 4TB hard drive included, is currently €250. That includes the tax, and keep in mind that includes the storage drive and the software. Yes, it isn't DSM, but for a one easy setup backup option to your network, yes, it doesn't have failover, keep that in mind. That's not too bad at $250. It's not a great NAS, but it's not bad NAS for simplicity. Buenas tardes, we are in Spain right now, and the deals get even thinner. We talked about most of the interesting ones that we've discussed thus far across other areas of Europe, and most of them are repeated, as you can see here on screen. So what stands out? Well, for a start, a 4TB M.2 NVMe in Gen 4, yes, it's a 4800 megabytes per second or 4.8 gigabytes per second read, but at €223 for a 4TB, in Spain at the very least, is actually not too shabby a price. So whether it is, again, upgrading your PlayStation, upgrading your core editing rig, this will work for you. And by the way, although this is sub what the PlayStation says you should use for drives, I've tested this, it worked fine in a PS5, and I was still able to store games and run from it. Next up, Samsung, for a slightly more mainstream SSD, and this is their high performance Gen 4 drive, by the way. So this is the one that can hit 7.4 gigabytes. Again, €274, a little bit pricier, but for that you are getting a higher performance drive overall. But get a bloody heatsink if you're going to get the 990 Pro from Samsung. Finally, over here, an external drive for those that are looking for a drive on the go. We did a review of the previous generation of this drive, but a 228, this is a 4TB connected 10 gigs per second USB local drive there. Not a phenomenal deal, but not a terrible deal either, with multiple colours readily available. Again, not a huge amount to talk about. I think we're almost done with Europe. Canada, Canada, Canada. Love it, love it. Seriously, well done with Carney, by the way. You may not agree with me on that one, but seriously, with everything going on in the world, solid pick. UGREEN NAS solutions here, the majority of them are on sale over there right now within the Prime Day offer. So again, if you were interested in one of the NAS devices from UGREEN, several of them are on offer right now. If you are interested in upgrading your hard drives, again, there's a huge amount of hard drive options outside of the US, but the best I could find was probably this one for an 8TB drive here, and this is 204. Maybe it will change in the next few days, but at least now at the time of recording, this is probably one of the best offers I could find. And although there were some larger hard drives, the price differential once you stuck it into Camel was barely 2 to 3%. Again, another reason why it's worth checking with Camel. You can get a plugin, by the way, that you can install in your web browser, but using that will affect everything you ever buy on Amazon a lot of the time when it comes to affiliated links. And I recommended it last year. I'm not overly fond of it now. That's why I don't really recommend it as much anymore. But if it works for you, it works. There is, of course, the 8TB drive as well that I was able to find if you don't want to go domestic. But keep in mind, this 8TB is a little noisier. And although I would more likely say that's about 11 to 12% price reduction, it's still not a bad price for a 20 terabyte drive there overall for upgrading your storage setup, at least for Canadians there. Or maybe you can shop over the border, but then, oh, what a fun world tax is at the moment. And the G9 is back. Tempted to call this sodding video the G9 video. Right now, this is rocking out here. You can see here it's rocking out with a 5 gig or half a terabyte SSD included at 269 there. They're clearly trying to get rid of all of this tier of devices before they roll out the modified version. And again, if you're not going to do heavy intense setup, this may be enough for you. So do keep that in mind. And then you have got another CWWK board here, one that we talked about before. And for just a little over $200, you can get a 6 times SATA Intel Twin Lake. That's the new one, not the Alder Lake powered MITX motherboard with 4 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports there on the rear and 2 M.2 slots on the board. If you're going DIY, that's a Billy banger right now. And we head to the other side of the world now, to Australia. Let's face it, I was never going to leave you guys out. One of these days, I'm going to buy you that beer, Dave Russell. Cracking on. What a shock. There's the G9 once again at 262 Australian dollars there, 42% off. If ever there was, I mentioned it in the intro, an example of them trying to clear this device out, this is it right now. Then up goes for the same thing, but with a little bit of storage included, a 1TB variation of that. Keep in mind, both of them have the memory included, have that 64 gig eMMC, GMKTec, and this G9 is bloody everywhere. Next up, again, it's not a branded card, but if you are looking for a budget upgrade to 2x 10 GBE over SFP at 28 Australian dollars, this is a great little 10 gig card there. Keep in mind, it is definitely an older generation card there, and it seems that it might be certified repair, but still, if you're looking for a cheap upgrade, you're hard pushed to find a cheaper one than that. Now, Australia is the only place I actually found a few active deals for Synology products there. So, for example, the 223J. Now, this is the older generation device. They're slowly getting phased out. This is probably the last 2-bay J series, by the way, and it's 319 Australian dollars. So keep in mind, it's only 1 GBE. Keep in mind, it's only, it's 1 gig of RAM. It's got that Realtek CPU, but it still gets the job done, and it's the cheapest, lowest power consuming entry point into DSM right now. Probably tipped up so slightly by that 1 bay, maybe, and 399 for just low-level media, for just low-level backups, and as long as you aren't in a massive hurry, it's a decent little box. Keep in mind, and we'll get onto that a little bit more in a moment, that this does arrive with a wider compatibility of third-party hard drives as well, not just Synology's own, something that's becoming ever pertinent of late, right? Next up, the B Station. We talked about it earlier on. You can get it for $3.99 Australian right now, and that is exactly the same as before, 4 TB included, 1 gig internal software. Indeed, it is the same hardware architecture as that 2 bay, but instead of 2 bays and buying your own drives, it's 1 bay and it includes the 4 TB as well. So factor that in when you look at that price and wonder if it's actually good value. And finally, a newer generation device, the DS1525 Plus, rocking out with that quad-core embedded Ryzen processor, 8 gig of ECC memory, rocking out with 2.5 gigabit Ethernet on the rear, expandability via 2 expansion ports, and the option to add 10 GBE along the road. It's pretty nifty. Yes, it ain't cheap, but it very rarely is in Australia. But keep in mind, if this is of any interest to you, you might be thinking, whoo, there's some hard drives on offer there. I can populate it with those. Remember, right now the compatibility ain't great, and you're pretty much restricted at the time of recording to only Synology drives. And that's a 4 TB Synology drive in Australia, and that is a 4 TB Seagate drive in Australia. With $40 to $50 difference depending on the drive capacity. No, that's not going to be for everyone. And of course, if you do want to upgrade that 10 GBE port, you're going to need their very own PCIe adapter. But there you go. Those are the best Amazon Prime Day deals I could find right now that I would personally go for, depending on where I am in the world. As mentioned in the intro, we've got a full article that you can break down and find out more about the offers, and I'll be adding more of these later today, as well as our deal page that's updated regularly. And we've got guides on the best nails you can get for $500, $249, as well as other buying guides available there on the website. And everything we've discussed today is linked in the description, so please use those links if you found this video helpful, and if you were going to shop at those stores anyway. If those two things are true, it really helps us out. We don't monetize this video. We rely on the ad revenue that we get from those, the commission revenue we get from the links in the description. So it really helps us out. If you want to support us, there they are. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic week.